I am pleased to welcome to our program Jason Berry, a journalist who has done the longest term and the most thorough work on the issue of Catholic priests who are pedophiles. His book is titled Lead Us Not Into Temptation, and is a very grim account of what has happened to some very nice, faithful Catholic young people. Many teenagers, some pre-adolescent, who have been abused by Catholic priests. He also tells the very, very unbecoming to the church story of how the hierarchy in the United States has, certainly in the early go, consistently turned its back on this problem, and worse, often transferred priests to other parishes where they once again worked with children. Also here is Father Andrew M. Greeley. Father Greeley's latest novel is titled Fall from Grace, which is another, as we've come to expect from Father Greeley, compelling story. This one does include the issue about which we gather here today. I'm also pleased to welcome to our program a woman who needs no lectures on how serious the problem is. And as soon as I find my card, I'll tell you who she is. You are Barbara Blaine. And you founded SNAP.
Correct.
Which is an acronym for?
Survivors Network for those abused by priests.
As you were?
Exactly.
And as a teenager?
Right. It started when I was 13, went on until I was 17.
And it was a parish priest?
Correct.
Was he a friend of the family?
Yes, he was.
You was a very good Catholic family.
One of 8 children. Everyone in our family was very involved in church.
Church picnic, May crowning, all of those wonderful memories that Catholic young people have.
Exactly.
And did the we don't want to be voyeurs here, but I think it is instructive to know just, first of all, when the first abuse occurred, you were how old?
13. It was the summer between 7th and 8th grade.
And what were the circumstances of the first time that this priest crossed the line with you?
I had met him when I was in the 2nd grade, and he had become friends of our family. And one day after the Sunday Masses, he invited me to have dinner with the other priests. After the dinner was over, the other priests left to go out and visit their families, and then he stayed with me and began molesting me. And that was the beginning of what went on for 4.5 years. Now,
as I understand the testimony that you've offered publicly in the past, there was no intercourse.
Correct.
There was, however, repetitious fondling over the years, and have you not also said that he suggested to you that his erection was your fault?
Exactly.
Did he also suggest that you go to a confession to a priest in another parish?
Right. I had to go to confession frequently to other churches, and he told me that I was spiritually attractive, and somehow that God was blessing this relationship. And it was very confusing, and if you're not Catholic, I don't know if you can understand this, because priests are put up on such a high pedestal for us. And so when he told me that I was more spiritual than the other kids, I believed him.
Sure.
And felt very honored and very special. But at the same time, he told me that somehow because I was becoming a woman, that made me irresistible, and so therefore it was my fault that any abuse happened. I didn't understand it being
Did he
abuse.
arrange dalliances with you, or how would he? How were you encouraged to be in his company alone after the first transgression?
He was with children all the time, and myself and other children used to help out in the rectory. We stapled the bulletins together every Saturday. We cleaned the sacristy. Even on our lunch break from school, we spent our lunch break at the rectory in his room, frequently, every day.
Mm-hmm. When you went to confession to the other parish, which you did at his instruction, I assume that your confession did not include any identification. Did you confess? Did you understand what was happening to you to be a sin, or your contribution to it in your 13-year-old moral, theological?
Exactly. I thought it was my fault. And actually, Chet, the priest that abused me, also taught sex education. And he had taught us in the school that whatever happens, it's the girl's fault. And so, to me, it was my fault.
So not only were you being abused, but you were being instructed by the abuser that you were committing a sin.
But at the same time, he was telling me that if I told anyone, no one else would understand. So I shouldn't tell anyone else. And because it was on such a high level of spirituality that no one else could comprehend.
The pursuit of these details is important because we can assume that the pattern in terms of, as in your case, heterosexual abuse would be similar, reasonably similar, in other priest, lay, faithful situations. You did not ever identify this priest in confession, did you?
No, not.
In other words, I assume you knew that you had to keep this secret, but you were also interested in redemption and the cleansing of your soul, which came to you, as you understood, as a teenager in the church through confession.
Exactly.
So you went to another parish at his instruction where the priest who heard your confession was not likely to do any kind of investigative work.
Correct,
So.
and I pretended to be much older. Of course, I was very mature, I thought, like we all do.
And this went on from age 13 to 17.
Correct. He actually proposed to me, and we had planned to get married in heaven. And I was supposed to become a nun. I mean, I'm sorry for believing this.
It isn't that they disbelieve you.
I understand.
This is important. He instructed you to think, you would be a nun because you certainly couldn't get married since you were in some spiritual way married to him. Is this what I understand?
Exactly, and we were supposed to spend our time on earth in an engagement so that our eternity could be in this blissful marriage together.
Mm-hmm. And then, what interrupted then these?
Okay, when I was a senior in high school, I went on a retreat called TEC, Teens Encounter Christ, and at that retreat, I, for the first time, told another priest face to face, and his response to me was, "That's okay, Barbara. Jesus loves you. Jesus can forgive anything." And so I kind of felt like, okay, now I'm forgiven, and I felt that I really was in love with Chet Warren, and I thought that this way he would...
Did you call him Chet?
No, actually I didn't call him anything, because I didn't feel like I could call him Father, and he wouldn't allow me to call him Chet, so I didn't know what to call him. Mm-hmm. I didn't call him, it's strange.
No,
but anyway,
then
I thought that he would be happy, because now we would for sure be able to spend all eternity together if this relationship ended, if we stopped having any kind of sexual encounters with each other. But in fact, he was actually very angry and hurt me in a lot of other ways by alienating my friends from me and telling lies about me to my friends.
Did you confront him and say, "I'm not going to see you anymore"?
Yeah, I told him that, and I thought he'd be thrilled, because he always said that I had caused this sinning to happen and we were going to get married in heaven, and I believed that.
Right. Now, when then did you blow an official whistle? When did you get serious about...
I went on with life after that point. I told a couple other youth workers who were on the retreat program, but I moved on with my life and really forgot it all until I was about 28 years old. And that's when I read an article in the National Catholic Reporter that was written by Jason Berry, telling about priests sexually abusing altar boys. And at that point I thought, well, it sounds kind of similar to what happened to me, but it probably doesn't happen to girls. I'm the only one that it happened to. And I thought that for many, many years.
Then did you pursue some kind of...
So I went to the church. I went to Chet first, and he told me, "Oh, Barbara, just pull a shade over that part of your life and just forget that ever happened." And then I went to his superiors. I went to the bishop. This was back in 1985 and 86. And
the Archdiocese of what?
Toledo, Ohio. And he admitted, the priest, Chet Warren, admitted everything in front of a psychologist that they hired. Then later on, over the past couple of years, they've retracted that and decided that, no, they really never knew that Chet had actually done this, and that he claimed that that was the 60s and 70s. And you know, everybody hugged and kissed in the 60s and 70s, so I had misinterpreted his affections.
Well, has there been any judicial resolution to your...
So what happened now is 1993 in January, they did an expose about me in the Toledo newspaper, and then 9 more victims have come forward who were also abused by Chet. So it took until February, just last month, that he was actually removed from ministry. And they claim that they're going to put him in a treatment center for priests.
So he is in some kind of retirement situation.
Exactly.
He's certainly not working with young women.
He's not allowed to work with anyone.
But he has not been defrocked or in any way...
Not that I know of.
ecclesiastically punished by the church.
No.
And is there any legal action obtaining now against
No,
them?
actually, you know, I'm a member of the church, and I never wanted to sue the church or bring any kind of defamation to the church. And I've been waiting and asking the church to reach out to me and to care. And I'm waiting now for Bishop Hoffman to do that.
You are founder and national coordinator of Survivors Network Abused by Priests, SNAP. And did you have an assembly of similarly situated people convene in St. Louis?
We did. We've had now 4 different gatherings in Chicago, St. Louis, San Francisco, and Boston.
And you have a newsletter.
We do.
And you are encouraging Catholics similarly situated, loved ones of Catholics, victims, parents, whatever it may be, to come together, and you respect their privacy, and you literally take over a hotel, not unlike a convention. Is this right?
This is exactly what happens. And what I feel that we're doing is, in a sense, we are being church to each other. And in many ways, our organization shouldn't have to exist.
Right.
And if the church would reach out to us, then it wouldn't.
How many people attended the last St. Louis meeting?
We had about, I think, 48 or 49 people attend.
Father Greeley has written in America, the Jesuit publication, and how do you feel about Mr. Berry's guess or speculation that as many as 40% are gay?
I don't know. As a sociologist, I have no idea. But Jason has done an awful lot of work in the area, and I'm not going to disagree with him.
We are in New York City, and we'll continue our discussion. Allow this audience in this in just a moment.
Part of the audience, please send a postcard to Donahue Tickets, care of NBC, 30 Rockefeller Plaza, New York, New York, 10112. Remember, postcards only, please.
You know, continuing with Jason Berry, Andrew Greeley, and Barbara Blaine. You know, I mean, what's a good story? You want to be careful about media hyperbole, but I must say, people who with more insight than I have, people who've done more work, who are more informed, have said that this is the biggest crisis in the history of the largest church of Christendom, the Holy Roman Catholic Church. That is not an overstatement, is it?
Well, I don't think in this country it's an overstatement because, you know, America is a deeply religious country, and roughly 25% of the people in the United States are Catholic, or at least baptized Catholic. And what's so sad is that there has been a dramatic change in the priesthood in the last 25 years. You know, briefly, what happened after the birth control encyclical in 1968 is that thousands of priests began to leave, many of them to get married. And you made reference earlier to the number of gays in the priesthood. There was an influx, almost a flood, of gay men who entered priestly life during that period. And
continue to perform noble service.
Well,
and don't molest anybody.
Exactly. That's a good point.
All right, okay.
Yeah, but there's another side to that, and maybe I should add parenthetically, the first book I did was about the end of the civil rights movement. I believe very strong that homophobia is wrong. But there are cliques that gain power of gays in the church who discriminate against straights. This is not just a question of hypocrisy. You know, in a sense, it's almost like a power dynamic that keeps batting back and forth between younger gays who are not always as devoted to the sort of foot soldier tradition that you made a reference to as some of the older priests, such as Father Greeley. Richard McBride at Notre Dame has said it's become a haven for the priesthood, a haven for homosexuals. The question is, why haven't the bishops done anything about it? Why has the Pope been so silent?
Let me understand your point, Jason. You feel that in your own research, you have discovered that there are cliques of power, brotherhood, camaraderie.
Absolutely.
And these cliques may, I assume, include people of power like bishops.
You bet.
And they are gay.
Absolutely.
And they are out to each other.
They are known to certain members within the...
Well, is the clique, isn't one of the ingredients of the bonding of the clique their mutual gayness?
I suppose one could put it that way, yes. What you find is a system that is so obsessed with secrecy, that is layered in denial about the sexual realities teeming within it, that often, for example, in Lafayette, Louisiana, there were several gays around the bishop. And the cover-up involving the pedophiles was an extension, really, of this mentality of secrecy and duplicity with respect to sexual activity that was not, that did not involve youngsters. The real problem is that when challenged, the church engages in counterattack rather than a rational course of reform.
And incidentally, you heard it first on the Donahue Show. As you know, I'm a brilliant man.
Never doubted it.
We do think that's true.
This is not going to be satisfactorily remedied during this papacy.
I don't think the Vatican cares. I mean, they recently ordered the Bishop of Pittsburgh to reassign a priest he had removed because he was a child molester. And so the Vatican doesn't get it. They think it's a problem that's a manifestation of American corruption, and they're more concerned, as are all priests, about the rights of priests than they are about the horror the victims go through.
This is the same institution that built the largest private system of education in the history of the universe. I speak of the Roman Catholic school system in the United States, which incidentally would not necessarily offer me as testimony to its virtue.
Oh, I think some of the systems
all right,
would,
but you know,
Phil.
listen, 12 years, and I patronize nobody to say, I think I got a wonderful education. So this, now wait a minute, I'm not kissing babies here. This is what this church can do, but it'll never die, it will always be with it, but it will be indefinitely crippled.
Until it changes.
As long as you have to be celibate to serve as a male religious under the work of the Holy Order. Oh, come on. Come on.
Phil, most of these priests, victimizers, if they were married, they would assault their own children.
Yes, yes, I agree, but they wouldn't have been attracted to the church of a married clergy. You'd have a greater opportunity to exploit the talent. Do you have any idea how many Catholic men and women out there, adult Catholic men and women, would love to work for the church, to be gainfully and modestly paid by the church, would love to do this work? The talent is there. They can't get in the door and serve in the full capacity of the church's.
All of that is true, but you cannot blame celibacy for pedophilia.
Thank you.
Celibacy does not cause...
I can blame the celibacy requirement for enhancing the chances that a priest with a Roman collar would encounter Barbara Blaine in an evening situation sometime in privacy, and I can also blame the church celibacy rule for increasing the number of people who are likely, with the full power of the religious robe and all the influence that had on a 13-year-old child, for causing this problem. I don't think that is in any way an unfair statement. And you are saying, Father, that how much is the church paid in lawsuits on?
Well, in Chicago last year, it paid $1.8 million, and the Cardinal said it would be more this year. If you multiply that by about 20, since Chicago has about 1/20th of the Catholics in the country, you get somewhere around 40 million and going up.
A year?
Yeah.
400 million in the last 10 years and an average of about 40 million a year. A big part of the problem is that the lawyers representing the church are making terrible blunders, and they're treating the victims of child sexual abuse as if they were people filing lawsuits about chemical pollution or something like that.
But you know, I want to say that those of us who come forward, we're not looking for money. We're looking for healing, and we wouldn't be in the courts.
You're also looking to stop this. Show him number 20, Brian. 100,000 victims and $50 million a year is the cost the American Catholic Church pays for sex crimes perpetrated by priests. How serious is the problem of sexual abuse by clergy? This taken from an article in America, the Jesuit bi-monthly.
Weekly.
Thank you. By Father Andrew Greeley. And we'll be back to let this audience talk about it.